Shall we? Good morning, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That is the website, www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset, reading parts of Think and Grow Rich and having a great discussion after the reading. Today we'll be reading pages 96 through 100. Let's get started, shall we? The top of page 96, How to Make Practical Use of Imagination. Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes. Ideas are products of the imagination. Let us examine a few well-known ideas which have yielded huge fortunes, with the hope that these illustrations will convey definite information concerning the method by which imagination may be used in accumulating riches. The Enchanted Kettle. 50 years ago, an old country doctor drove to town, hitched his horse, quietly slipped into a drugstore by the back door, and began dickering with the young drug clerk. His mission was destined to yield great wealth to many people. It was destined to bring to the South the most far-flung benefit since the Civil War. For more than an hour, behind the prescription counter, the old doctor and the clerk talked in low tones. Then the doctor left. He went out to the buggy and brought back a large old-fashioned kettle, a big wooden paddle used for stirring the contents of the kettle, and deposited them in the back of the store. The clerk inspected the kettle, reached into his inside pocket, took out a roll of bills, and handed it over to the doctor. The roll contained exactly $500, the clerk's entire savings. The doctor handed over a small slip of paper on which was written a secret formula. The words on that small slip of paper were worth a king's ransom, but not to the doctor. Those magic words were needed to start the kettle to boiling, but neither the doctor nor the young clerk knew what fabulous fortunes were destined to flow from that kettle. The old doctor was glad to sell the outfit for $500. The money would pay off his debts and give him freedom of mind. The clerk was taking a big chance by staking his entire life savings on a mere scrap of paper and an old kettle. He never dreamed his investment would start a kettle to overflowing with gold that would surpass the miraculous performance of Aladdin's lamp. What the clerk really purchased was an idea. The old kettle and the wooden paddle and the secret formula on a slip of paper were incidental. The strange performance of that kettle began to take place after the new owner mixed with the secret instructions an ingredient of which the doctor knew nothing. Read this story carefully. Give your imagination a test. See if you can discover what it was that the young man added to the secret message, which caused the kettle to overflow with gold. Remember as you read that this is not a story from Arabian Nights. Here you have a story of facts, stranger than fiction, facts which began in the form of an idea. Let us take a look at the vast fortunes of gold this idea has produced. It has paid and still pays huge fortunes to men and women all over the world who distribute the contents of the kettle to millions of people. The old kettle is now one of the world's largest consumers of sugar, thus providing jobs of a permanent nature to thousands of men and women engaged in growing sugar cane and in refining and marketing sugar. The old kettle consumes annually millions of glass bottles, providing jobs to huge numbers of glass workers. The old kettle gives employment to an army of clerks, stenographers, copy editors, copywriters, and advertising experts throughout the nation. It has brought fame and fortune to scores of artists who have created magnificent pictures describing the product. The old kettle has converted a small southern city into the business capital of the South, where it now benefits directly or indirectly every business and practically every resident of the city. The influence of this idea now benefits every civilized country in the world, pouring out a continuous stream of gold to all who touch it. Gold from the kettle built and maintains one of the most prominent colleges of the South, where thousands of young people receive the training essential for success. The old kettle has done other marvelous things. All through the World Depression, when factories, banks, and business houses were folding up and quitting by the thousands, the owner of this enchanted kettle went marching on, giving continuous employment to an army of men and women all over the world, and paying out extra portions of gold to those who long ago had faith in the idea. If the product of that old brass kettle could talk, it would tell thrilling tales of romance in every language. Romances of love, romances of business, romances of professional men and women who are daily being stimulated by it. The author is sure of at least one such romance, for he was a part of it, and it all began not far from the very spot on which the drug clerk purchased the old kettle. It was here that the author met his wife, and it was she who first told him of the enchanted kettle. It was the product of that kettle they were drinking when he asked her to accept him for better or worse. Now that you know the content of the enchanted kettle is a world-famous drink, it is fitting that the author confess that the home city of the drink supplied him with a wife who also that the drink itself provides him with stimulation of thought without intoxication, and thereby it serves to give the refreshment of mind which an author must have to do his best work. Whoever you are, wherever you may live, whatever occupation you may be engaged in, just remember in the future, every time you see the words Coca-Cola, that its vast empire of wealth and influence grew out of a single idea, and that the mysterious ingredient the drug clerk, Asa Candler, mixed with the secret formula was imagination. Stop and think of that for a moment. Remember also that the 13 steps to riches described in this book were the media through which the influence of Coca-Cola has been extended to every city, town, village, and crossroads of the world, and that any idea you may create as meritorious as Coca-Cola has the possibility of duplicating the stupendous record of this worldwide thirst killer. Truly, thoughts are things, and their scope of operation is the world itself. What I would do if I had $1 million. This story proves the truth of the old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. It was told to me by that beloved educator and clergyman, the late Frank W. Gonzalez, who began his preaching career in the Stockyards region of South Chicago. While Dr. Gonzalez was going through college, he observed many defects of our educational system, defects which he believed he could correct if he were the head of a college. His deepest desire was to become the directing head of an educational institution in which young men and women would be taught to learn by doing. He made up his mind to organize a new college in which he would carry out his ideas without being handicapped by orthodox methods of education. He needed $1 million to put the project across. Where was he to lay his hands on so large of a sum of money? That was a question that absorbed most of this ambitious young preacher's thought, but he couldn't seem to make any progress. Every night he took that thought to bed with him. He got up with it in the morning. He took it with him everywhere he went. He turned it over and over in his mind until it became a consuming obsession with him. $1 million is a lot of money. He recognized that fact, but he also recognized the truth that the only limitation is that which one sets up in one's own mind. Being a philosopher as well as a preacher, Dr. Gonzalez recognized, as do all who succeed in life, that definiteness of purpose is the starting point from which one must begin. He recognized, too, that definiteness of purpose takes on animation, life, and power when backed by a burning desire to translate that purpose into its material equivalent. He knew all these great truths, yet he did not know where or how to lay his hands on $1 million. The natural procedure would have been to give up and quit by saying, "Oh, well, my idea is a good one, but I cannot do anything with it because I never can procure the necessary $1 million." That is exactly what the majority of people would have said, but it is not what Dr. Gonzalez said. What he said and what he did are so important that I now introduce him and let him speak for himself. One Saturday afternoon, I sat in my room thinking of ways and means of raising the money to carry out my plans. For nearly 2 years, I had been thinking, but I had done nothing but think. The time had come for action. I made up my mind then and there that I would get the necessary $1 million within a week. How? I was not concerned about that. The main thing of importance was the decision to get the money within a specified time. And I want to tell you that the moment I reached a definite decision to get the money within a specified time, a strange feeling of assurance came over me, such as I had never experienced before. Something inside me seemed to say, "Why didn't you reach that decision a long time ago? The money was waiting for you all the time." Things began to happen in a hurry. I called the newspapers and announced I would preach a sermon the following morning entitled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million." I went to work on the sermon immediately, but I must tell you, frankly, the task was not difficult because I had been preparing that sermon for almost 2 years. The spirit back of it was a part of me. Long before midnight, I had finished writing the sermon. I went to bed and slept with a feeling of confidence, for I could see myself already in possession of the $1 million. Next morning, I arose early, went into the bathroom, read the sermon, then knelt on my knees and asked that my sermon might come to the attention of someone who would supply the needed money. While I was praying, I again had that feeling of assurance that the money would be forthcoming. In my excitement, I walked out without my sermon and did not discover the oversight until I was in my pulpit and about ready to begin delivering it. It was too late to go back for my notes, and what a blessing that I couldn't go back. Instead, my own subconscious mind yielded the material I needed. When I arose to begin my sermon, I closed my eyes and spoke with all my heart and soul of my dreams. I not only talked to my audience, but I fancy I talked also to God. I told what I would do with $1 million if that amount were placed in my hands. I described the plan I had in my mind for organizing a great educational institution where young people would learn to do practical things and at the same time develop their minds. When I had finished and sat down, a man slowly arose from his seat, about 3 rows from the rear, and made his way toward the pulpit. I wondered what he was going to do. He came into the pulpit, extended his hand, and said, "Reverend, I liked your sermon. I believe you can do everything you said you would. If you had $1 million, to prove that I believe in you and your sermon, if you will come to my office tomorrow morning, I will give you the $1 million. My name is Philip D. Armour." Young Gusalis went to Mr. Armour's office, and the $1 million was presented to him. With the money, he founded the Armour Institute of Technology. I am going to stop there because I think those are 2 fantastic stories that illustrate exactly what Napoleon Hill has been talking about. You envision it. You add some imagination to it. You have a plan in place. Things start to happen. Tap into the infinite intelligence. I love the Coca-Cola story. That's just fantastic because it puts everything into perspective for me. That it didn't matter that the young clerk didn't envision $1 billion business. What mattered was that he envisioned something and that it grew and other people took it and grew it further. And the Armour Institute of Technology, that was clear in this guy's head. He just didn't know how he was going to get the money. And then finally there came a moment when he realized that when he tapped into the infinite intelligence, the how was right there and the money was there all along. He just needed to do something. The action, in his case, was a sermon. But for most cases in all of ours, in my life, it's a matter of action. All right, those are my thoughts. Would love to have somebody get in a seat. We're going to have 3 open seats. Welcome to jump in and discuss what you got out of the reading. We have Sabrina. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I was almost late. Goodness.
This from a gal that we're still surprised she's actually up this early in the morning.
You're killing me with this, I'm telling you.
And then we have Michael. Good morning, Michael, man.
Good morning,
So glad to have you with us. We're going to have a full room. Outstanding. I love this. Can't hear you, Michael.
I'm still up from last night.
Okay. So if you get too goofy on me, I'll kick you out, okay? And Damon, I would love to have you in here. You're in time warp at the moment, cyber warp. So if I kick you out or boot you out, I want you to try again. And it's only because you're not coming in clearly. All right. So Sabrina, Michael, what is it that you would like to share?
Well, I think once again, this kind of centered on our step 5. Isn't that where we're at? Imagination.
We are.
And you had the faith. And if you have the faith, it presents itself. Seems to be the underlying subject there, or underlying point, is that you think about it, you imagine it, you have faith that it belongs to you, that it's coming, and it arrives.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
I was going to say, for me, I think it's all about, we're looking here at two different things. First, we're manifesting it. We have to actually believe that this is something that is possible. And then, of course, the all-important action, which all-important step I think that a lot of people tend to miss out on, is the actual action.
Okay.
Doing something about, I mean, you can sit there and manifest, okay, I'm going to have $1 million. I'm manifesting $1 million. But if I'm just sitting on my lazy butt, not doing anything to actually realize that $1 million, then what have I really accomplished?
Right. Like the Reverend had said, he thought about it for 2 years. He spent time thinking about it for 2 years. You know? And then it hit him that he had to take some action. So what about the guy with the brass kettle? The beginning of the Coca-Cola.
I'm just gonna have to admit that I actually came in a little bit late on the reading, so I think I missed that.
Okay.
I think the $1 million question is, what was the secret ingredient?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
AJ, come on in. We'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that would probably be more of a $1 billion question with the B, not the little M.
Yeah.
Because I think if you get that secret ingredient, that can probably make the whole thing, the whole big difference there.
Okay. AJ, can't see you, but we can hear you. It says you have poor internet signal, so just be aware of that. Good to have you with us. Oh, there he goes. All right, try again. Refreshing is a beautiful thing. Damon, I'm not sure if maybe you can check your settings and refresh. I'd love to have you join us in the discussion as well. AJ, good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Oh, doing great here.
Sorry, I forgot I didn't have my camera plugged in, so that was the issue. But this is...
Well, there you go.
I'm so pleased to see that we're discussing the imagination section in the Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill, because my 3 Mastermind chapter groups that actually meet in person are going over exactly that. And
wonderful.
The interesting part of the imagination that we talked about, because in his book it says there's 2 types. There's the synthetic and there's the creative. And so we're really focusing on the creative side of the imagination, which most people should know is limitless. If you have a dream, if you have a thought, don't set restrictions on that dream and thought. Reach for the stars and beyond, because you never know where it's going to stop, and you shouldn't have to even think about an ending point. So for that, in the workbook that the Think and Grow Rich book actually follows along with, at the end is a imagination map. And it's similar to a vision board that most people put together. So very interesting. We're going to be doing a workshop on that this coming Wednesday. So we'll see how it actually comes of that. But I do believe imagination should be limitless.
So one of the things that came out of the reading, and I think that was so important on the second story, was the importance of action. So while we say that the imagination is limitless, and going by what you were saying, the 2 types of imagination Napoleon Hill introduced us to, I'm thinking that the Reverend deployed the creative by tapping into something greater than himself, which made his mind bigger so that he was open to a way to put into action something to achieve what his dream was. Am I on the right track? Is this making sense to people?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we do that, how? So you're talking, AJ, you're talking about a vision board. What is I'm familiar with vision boards as the representation of the end goal.
Right.
Are you looking at it the same way, AJ?
I'm looking, when it comes to the imagination map, people need to get what's in your head out, and not just out of your mind, but on paper and actually speaking about it. In the previous readings that you've done, which I missed, I know that we've discussed the subconscious mind and how important that is. But the end result is really get it out of your mind and let others know it's out there. I mean, we all used to put little Post-it stickies on the sides of our laptops and computers as a constant reminder that, hey, you've got to do this, you got to do that. That's the vision board or / imagination map is. The end result is you actually achieving what you see right in front of you. It's your own accountability plan.
Okay. So it's representative then of the actions that you're going to take. And I don't know where
Exactly.
Sabrina went, but Sabrina might come back, or there's an empty seat. Somebody jump in. I'm sorry, what was that, AJ?
No, I was saying that is exactly what we're talking about. Is
Okay.
you have to have the end result, but it can be limitless. I mean, give you a quick, perfect example. I had a client come to me, and she said, "Boy, I'm disabled. I'm in a wheelchair, and I really want to create opportunity for other people with similar disabilities in the employment and in the work field. And it's very difficult for them to achieve that. How can I do that?" And right there, it just started sparking my imagination. And I said, wow, what if you actually created a company where it was backed by the ADA, and you could actually go into brick and mortar businesses to mandate that they are handicap accessible. This has been a big problem across the nation and certainly across the world, that many people with certain disabilities cannot get from place to place. So we took that idea, and I told her to write down what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because just talking about it and you're thinking about it to yourself, it's not going to go anywhere. Hence, a vision board, theory, imagination map. You have to have something, I believe, in a true physical form that you can see what it may look like, and it grows, it changes on a weekly, monthly, annual basis. So the end result right there is you need to have something that you can see, that you can envision, or more like a goal. But you have to implement your imagination to your people.
See, I'm not hearing actually that it was more like a goal as much as it becomes more concrete. It
Hopefully
suddenly
so.
has some, with the vision board and what you're describing, it becomes more real because you can actually visualize it. Preston, you made it down there. Mm-hmm. Almost there, right?
I just wanted to show the visualization, right? No,
There you go.
I think what AJ is talking about is very true. There's another way to do a vision board, and I actually learned this from another friend of mine. And what we did is we actually used, I can't remember the company, there's like a way to do videos and be able to take actual pictures. You don't want to publish it, especially if you go to Google and take pictures off, but it allows you to take, what pictures you want, what you want to materialize in your life. And what it is, it's like a 1 minute to 2 minute type video that keeps on playing on a daily basis. I'll admit, I did it for about a month, and then I fell off of it. So
Yeah.
the fact is that if you continually do that, then it'll always be in your mind. You'll always be thinking about it. You know, kind of like what happened with the preacher. You know, for 2 years, he was thinking about it and thinking about it and keeping it constant in his mind. And you know, like AJ said, obviously we used to have those, you know, post-it notes on our wall to remind us, here's what we need to do every day. This is what our goal is. But I think if you see it and you actually see the video and you put like words that actually create emotion in you, it'll help.
So you took AJ's vision board discussion, which comes from earlier, and you know, other people use vision boards in a variety of ways and are utilizing today's technology.
Yes.
I love that. So actually, I don't know that you need a specific special platform to do that. You just need something that allows you to put multiple images in a sequence that represent, AJ, correct me if I'm wrong, that represent either the entire end of what it looks like, this is where I'm going to be, or possibly even the steps that what it looks like along the way. Would that be beneficial to show
You're
what it looks
absolutely
like
right.
along the way?
You're right, and that's just it's actually a Kickstarter. A lot of people who are in startups, but also that's great for them to kind of get a Kickstarter. But for us business owners who have been in business for at least over a year or 3 years, it's a reminder. I believe that you had a vision, and you need to go back to your roots and see really what it was before and how you progressed now. It's almost like a journal, this imagination map, very similar to blogging, but you can always go back to seeing what it was like a year ago and where you've progressed now. If you're not seeing progression, you need to kick your butt. You need to hold yourself accountable, saying, I'm not comfortable where I'm at. And this imagination map really, it's a Kickstarter. It sets the tone. You can see what you really like, but it'll change. It will. There's no doubt in my mind that when I do mine on Wednesday, I'm going to have my own self-improvement, self-learning mechanism. They'll say, wow, I didn't even realize that about myself. But that imagination map isn't just for you. You need to share that with people so that they understand what you're looking for. If you don't put it out there, nobody's going to know what your idea was.
I get it, because then they become a part of the plan to get. And I'm glomming on to your brain to help me to be creative, right?
Absolutely. That is really the sole purpose of that workshop. And what in that Napoleon Hill's book, it mentions that, you know, you need to have a sole purpose.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to jump in on about the imagination, about what AJ's talking about? How do we? I'm
going to go ahead and open up a seat.
Okay. Thank you, AJ. That was some fantastic stuff. Thank you, Preston. What about you, Michael?
I was just gonna kind of jump off of what AJ was talking about. The person came to him, and they may not have actually knew exactly. You know, we don't maybe necessarily know how we're going to get to that end goal, but you know, voicing it out, like even like the preacher did. You know, he had the idea that he was going to have $1 million, and that's fine and dandy that he's got it up here in his head, but actually getting it out on paper, getting his mindset on that end goal, and going that way. I mean, think about it. Had he not given that sermon, he probably wouldn't have gotten that $1 million.
No, he wouldn't have.
Here in his head. That's it.
But I think it goes another step, and I think that's that added ingredient in the imagination, is that it's bringing in the other principle of faith and the calling on something, that creative part of the imagination brings in the calling for assistance. You know, I call him God. The Reverend calls him God. Others call it infinite intelligence. Others call it the grand energy, whatever it may be. But there's something greater than us. There's something greater than me out here. And I have the idea, then I have inspiration that activates my imagination to take the idea broader, further, deeper than what I began with. And literally, honestly, this is what's happening with me in my business right now. Things have been happening this way. I've asked for inspiration, guidance, and I've felt that assurance that the Reverend describes. And as AJ said, I did not vision it out. I love what Preston did on the video idea. I do have a final image of what it looks like. You know, I have that, the final image. It's part of my, wallpaper on my monitor, of which I see all the time. And then I have access to images that are similar, but they're not all in the same place. And then I tapped into that infinite intelligence by asking, how am I going to get there? And little by little by little, what's been happening is people are being put into my life that fit. Mike, you're one of them. Sabrina's one of them. Sean is one of them. And so far, pretty much every one of you who's been joining me on these mornings are a part that are fitting into what ultimately I want for my business and for myself, and helping me to get there. You're inspiring me. You're giving me ideas. You're giving me assurances that where I'm headed in personal development, utilizing these principles, is the right track by sharing your own and allowing me to share with you. So little by little, everything's falling into place. And I didn't have a step-by-step plan. And this is the part this part is the mind-blowing part to me, because I'm a researcher and I'm a process-oriented person, and I'm a linear thinker. So to get from point A to point B, even if you have all the rest of the alphabet in between and you're on the second level of the alphabet, it's still getting from A to B. And this time I didn't have as complete a plan, and it's working better.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think about the preacher. He actually took all the time and wrote everything down, and then when it came time, game time basically, he had to step from within because he had left the paper at home. And that just makes me think that sometimes you just have to step out on faith and realize that.
But he knew it so well. He knew it so well, right? I mean, he'd lived with it for 2 years. This was his grand vision. This is what he wanted to do. He knew it so well he didn't need the piece of paper to read it. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Uh-oh, AJ's back. Not uh-oh, but...
Sorry, it just dawned upon me that another part of the mastermind within the doctor's idea, his imagination, he first had to know what he wanted to have. He had to list that. Then he also needed to understand what he wanted to be. Without answering those or knowing those two crucial points, his imagination would not have drawn to where he was at now. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, because the workbook does actually ask if you can list, and I encourage everybody in the room here to answer that right now. What is it that you want to have, and what is it that you want to be? That's a perfect starter, especially with the imagination chapter that we're talking about right now, because answering those two questions are really gonna make you think, wow, I've kind of been procrastinating. I've been putting this off to the side, and this is what really will lead me to my success. So those two questions again: what do you want to have, and who do you want to be?
Love that. Thank you, AJ. I like that. Good questions to ask. I've got an empty seat. Come on in. Join the discussion. Great stuff being shared here. Questions are welcome. You'll be back again to participate. Okay, Damon. I've been encouraging Damon to join us, and something about on his end not being able to come in. All right, so what I like to do, as you all know, is go back to the words that are capitalized. The most important phrases are capitalized. Definiteness of purpose. Burning desire. This is about the Reverend. This isn't even about the Coca-Cola idea. The Coca-Cola thing was strictly, there is no way, there is no way that drug clerk had $1 billion idea in his head. That wasn't it, right? It was just taking something, making it better, and being able to sell it. Or am I wrong? Somebody know the story of Coca-Cola further than that?
I don't.
Okay. As you can see, I don't either. I'm just going to go by the story that was presented to us. So and then we move into the Reverend, and we have definiteness of purpose. And that is we know what we want. We can envision what we want. We're thinking about it. It is top of mind. It is what we're working towards. It's the end result of all the things that we're going through, and it was what keeps us going, all right? Whatever the something or other you have to get through is, and we have a burning desire to make it happen, and it still doesn't happen. And that's what happened to him. It just didn't happen. And for 2 years, he thought about it. He really wanted it. This is just really resonates with me because I've done this. I really wanted it, and I even had an outline, not a real plan of action, but an outline of how to get there. But I didn't do anything. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't share it with others. I didn't make connections. I didn't expand my network. I did not focus on me and pieces of me that needed that self-improvement. AJ, you brought that up. The self-awareness to be able, on a regular basis, to identify gaps and areas that need attention. And I wasn't doing that. Therefore, things weren't happening, and I wasn't moving forward toward that end goal and result, and felt very frustrated. That's why I love this book, because he actually tells you the things that need to focus. There's 13 principles. We're on number 5, imagination, and they build on each other so that as I'm learning them and as I'm putting them to use and as I'm expanding my mind and as I'm getting better, I'm moving to the end result.
I agree. The story of the Reverend, that also resonated really well with me, which is why I brought up the other part of the activity where you need to ask those 2 questions. What do you want to have and who do you want to be? But also, Charlene, as you had mentioned, that you had some dark times in business where you just you were suffering, you were kind of keeping things to yourself, and that's the type of suffering I'm talking about. And we all have seen that at some point in our business and entrepreneurship, that if you don't get out there, if you don't say something to others, it's just going to eat you alive, and you're not going anywhere with your business. You're not introducing yourself and your business to others out there. And sometimes you also have to have, not necessarily an accountability partner, but somebody you feel comfortable with in saying, hey, I've kind of hit a plateau. So if somebody came to me like that, I would say, okay, well, the 2 questions, what do you want to have? And who do you want to be? Let's at least sit down for an hour, talk about that. Let's figure out what we can actually discover about yourself. Those 2 questions, ask yourself that once a month at the very least. That will still keep you on track for at least 12 months.
Well, that'll work. And you're right. I've shared the tough times, and those were the times that I did withdraw. But part of it too is that there wasn't that clear, definitive purpose. And I look back now, and there's great benefit in knowing what it is I'm working towards. Because now that I'm on fire with it, and now that I'm solid in it. I'm where I was back in '08 when I first started my business, which is nothing's going to get in my way. This is what's going to happen. It's just that it had reached its point, and then shifting needed to happen, and I made changes in a different direction. Hi, Preston.
I am back.
Yes, I see that.
I just wanted to talk about two things that blew my mind this week, and it has obviously something to do about imagination. One that I heard was with Mari Smith. I don't know if you were on that blab with, who was it? Enzo or whoever was interviewing her. Oh, Joel Comm.
Oh, okay. No, I missed the one with Mari Smith. I've been a fan of hers for years.
Yeah, and what blew my mind about her is that she actually said on video that it took her almost 10 years to get her business going. 10 years. And I look at, myself, I've been doing it for 4 years, and I thought, oh God, this is a lot of work for 4 years. But, sometimes it tastes like that, like Colonel Sanders, it took a long time, and look what he's established.
I think that's it, that we can't, what's the expectation? We have a definitive date in mind. What do we do if that doesn't happen? If it doesn't happen by that date, right? So then what? Is that a good place to talk about the imagination or is it, if we're on track, as AJ had said, if we're continually touching base with a group?
Again, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Preston. Great start of a conversation, though. Great direction that I like the discussion going.
Actually, I wanted to respond to that. That's why I came on, but go ahead.
Okay.
I wonder.
Well, it was, there's a reason why I run mastermind groups, right? Like AJ, there's great value in having a set group of people who are behind you and helping you to keep you on track and to keep you in touch with what it is you said you were going to do and why you said you were going to do it. Right. And if you hit a stumbling block, these are the people that you can come to that over a period of time I do, I have a trust in them that I can throw it out on the table. So, all right, go ahead, Sabrina. I was
just going to say,
hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Charlene.
I was just going to say, the people that I network with or know or hang out with or have relationships with or whatever the case may be that are building businesses online, the average time for all of them seems to be a minimum of 5 years to just really get out there and get a good hold going and make some things happen. And I know personally some people that y'all would probably consider very successful right now whose names I'm not going to name drop, that I've had recent conversations with, and they're still floundering. So the online world is, it takes some heavy duty focus.
It takes just as much effort. It's a business.
Yes.
I was just in a conversation yesterday with somebody on Blab. It's a business. You treat it as anything else, and it's not going to go anywhere. You have to treat it the same, an online business, the same as you would a brick and mortar, the same as you would an artistic endeavor, the same as anywhere else. I mean, it just, if you treat it lightly, it'll take forever. And we lost Alex.
Yeah, we did. True story there, Kevin. He says we all suffer by the microwave syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. And morning, Charlene. Great to see you. So,
where are you, dear? I can't see you.
I can hear him, but
I don't know. Oh no.
Oh, it's because I'm lost somewhere in the midst of France, and the internet connection is.
Well, you're lost somewhere for sure. Because it doesn't even reflect you're in here at all.
Yeah, well, I'm here or I'm somewhere out there. So I just wanted to share a thought with you.
Share with us.
That 10 years ago, or 11 years.
Oh.
And the voice from beyond was stopped.
He fell out of the ether or whatever he was.
Come back in, Alex. Thank you. Yes, because I know you have some fantastic things to share with us. Well, kind of there he is. Wait a minute. There you are.
He's back.
Quick, get it in there now.
So look, 11 years ago, I started painting again. I stopped for 14 years. I didn't pick up a paintbrush at all. And it's only now that I really feel that things are starting to take off. So that's 11 years ago. And, you know, my observation about creativity and about that journey and that journey to imagination that you're talking about is I don't feel I've lost a single second. I don't feel that I've wasted a single moment. I feel that that journey has been a journey of learning. And so every moment where I've been taking down a barrier which I created in my mind that was blocking creativity is a journey that has been unlocking it. And that's taken me to where I am. And it never stops. You know, it's ongoing because creativity and imagination is infinite. So, you know, even when we think it ends, you know, life goes on. And so my observation is that wherever you are in your business or your personal life or trying to create a business, that actually it just takes, you know, it's not that it takes time. Actually, that's not even what I wanted to say. It's that actually the time you are taking is immensely valuable. And if you are in the flow and if you are following your heart, if you are following your intuition, then actually what happens is you're learning through that process. And those challenges which come up, you're learning at a very, very deep level. So that's, I guess, what I wanted to share on that.
I love that. I love that, Alex. Thank you. And it resonates with me because on my creative side, I haven't touched the piano in years. And yet lately I've been compelled and pulled towards it. And I have a feeling it's going to be similar to your experience. Because when I did play, it wasn't with an end goal in mind. It was a part of who I am and what I do. And you know, the more I played and the more I studied and the more I went into the momentum of things and got drawn away, as you had said, go into the zone, and 6 hours later I come out and say, oh, there's a world out here. You know, it's an incredible experience, and it's an excellent way to tap into that creative energy.
Yeah, I mean, my experience of that is that when I go into that space, as you say, and it can be 6, 9, 8, 9, 10 hours into that space, and I'm literally out of my mind for that period of time, whether it be in the mountains or in extreme conditions anywhere around the world, that has an impact on everything else that I do. So it kind of acts as almost a halo effect. And what happens is that impacts all of my business relationships. So, you know, everything is, and my mentoring relationships and my coaching relationships and my ability to come up with ideas. So everything is impacted in a positive and uplifting way because I do that. And in fact, at the moment, you know, the majority of, you know, if I can be honest with you, the majority of my revenue is not coming from selling paintings. It's coming from the work that I do outside of that. So that is having an enormous impact on everything else I do. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, it makes sense. I'm not making the majority of my revenue is not from selling the products that I have to sell. It's coming from interactions like this and bringing people into mastermind groups and working as a consultant and being brought in, which is different than what I thought it was going to be, but okay. But the production and the creation of those products, the use of those products myself, the diving in and refinement is what is giving me the ability to speak the way I speak to my clients, the ability to speak like I am here. You're absolutely right. It has a direct impact. Love that. Thank you.
I was going to say that.
Isn't that interesting?
We didn't lose AJ.
How we all imagined
AJ,
what our business
you're in the
would be
ether.
like.
You're in the ether now, too.
Did you lose me?
We have the voice from the ether is now AJ. Sorry. Oh, geez. The minute we recognize somebody, are you guys Xing yourselves out?
I think they're working on something on Blab would be my guess. But I also want to say to Alex, I was going to say, Alex,
beta.
I found that I have the same thing going on. I have a routine, and once that, in the last week or so, I've failed from that routine because there have been other things that interrupt my time to go to those places, and it has changed everything in the last week in my life. Things are just they're not going the direction I need them to go. So I need to get back to that place.
So the morning routine was interrupted. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the days as they stacked up, got off track.
Oh yeah, and it's totally changed
Yeah.
everything. It's absolutely
Yeah.
changed everything.
That's why I'm scared to not do this in the mornings now.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it, and then I brought you all into it, and it's so much better now that I don't want to take the chance. Okay, you're back, AJ.
I am
AJ's
sorry about
back.
that. I had to refresh. No, what I was saying was it's very interesting for, I think, all of us to take a moment and think of how you imagined your business in the very beginning, before you got the first client, member, patient, whatever it may be, and where you're at now. It's a bit of, I always have an epiphany over that, because I too thought that, I'd just be selling a service and a membership and people would be walking in and signing up. But then I realized that the passion and the business, much like you, Charlene, it comes from helping others, connecting with others, not necessarily selling your product, shoving it down their throat, because as I realized that their body language was stepping away from me when I was doing that. So getting in touch with other people. And it's great that you brought up this segment of the mastermind, because understanding other people's imagination is the way that I can actually help somebody's business grow. Without knowing that, there's no business for me.
Fascinating. Thank you. All right, so we're in the last, I just want everybody to know we're in the last few minutes. I'm going to be shutting this down video. That's all, just to end it for the replays. And then I will keep the room open for about 30 minutes and we can continue discussion, but just a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Hey everybody, I had a great time getting my morning mindset going, and I've got to roll. So take care. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thanks, Sabrina. Good to see you.
So that's been some great stuff. My goodness. All right, so let me end the video now. Let's do it now, because I realized what I just did to the conversation. Sorry about that. Let's end the video and then we'll keep the conversation going, okay? So this is Charlene Burke thanking everybody who has joined us in the room and joined me live stream. Right now we have AJ and Alex. Sabrina was with us, Mike and Preston, and I wish more could have come through, and maybe more will come through after the recording. For those who are watching the replay, thank you for joining us. Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. www.growbecauseyouknow.com is the website. Let's move forward with the day now, on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our business.